Hey folks, Kevin here. Well, it's October 30th, 2022, and one of the things I'm going to do today is I'm going to transplant some trees that we got for free from a collaborative effort between Rice Creek Field Station, which is part of the State University of New York, College at Oswego. Thea and I are alumni. The Rice Creek Field Station is a beautiful place. If you're in central New York, a fantastic place to go and partake in many of the activities and going on their boardwalk, their field trips, those sorts of things. The other thing that they worked with the Canal Forest Restoration Project, which are volunteers who have collected seeds and started growing the seeds, and they give away bare root seedling trees in the hopes of, I'm sorry about it being windy today, in the hopes of people being able to reforest some of the trees that were over harvested over 100 years ago. So when the Erie Canal was put in, this area was loaded with white oaks and many other forest species that worked along the riparian systems and all. And today we're going to be transplanting some of these bare root seedlings, or planting for the first time, these bare root swamp white oaks. And they grow about 50 feet tall with a crown of about 50 to 60 feet. We're in a very windy location down where we are. Even though this isn't the high part of the property, this is the lower section. We're down 50 feet from the higher elevations, but we get the water, the wind coming over, sweeping over the waterways down in here. And so we have to protect these trees from high winds, so we'll be planting them pretty close to one another. So these are swamp white oak trees. So where are we? We're down here near the canal system. So this is one of the spillways, and this is the canal system that I harvested a lot of sand out of, that we've talked about recently. Up over in that direction is where the beaver ponds are and the new roads are and all. So one of my largest goals that I really want to do is I want to reforest this whole area. The emerald ash boring insect did so much damage to our ash trees here. We've lost thousands of ash trees on the acreage that we have, and the native grapevines that we have, and then we have the invasive species like the rose, the multiflora rose. They've all created lots of issues here in the property, and we're trying to do as much restoration as we can and create as many habitats and create the ecosystems where the wildlife can flourish and all. So along this canal system here, we're going to plant some of the swamp white oak trees. So, and I know in some of the videos people will say, geez, you didn't show how to pot it up, you didn't show how to transplant it and all. And so I'm going to try and show. It's windier than I would hope, but I got to get these trees in the ground. So first thing I'll say is that what is the soil like down here? So our soil on our property is fairly acidic. So neutral is 7. So when we get down into the 6 and 5.5, we're around 5.5 here on this property. So we're right along a canal system right in here that I put in this season. We will be putting a large pond up over in that area, and we'll be reforesting the whole property around here. But let's see. You can see where this tree went over here on the other edge of the pond. Over here you can see some of the soil. So it's really nice, thick, beautiful, black, rich soil all under this area here. We've got about anywhere between 12 and 18, sometimes 24 inches deep of the black, rich soil before you get down to the sandy material that we're on now. So when we use the shovel, we're going to dig down through the sand. We're going to use mycorrhizal fungi spores to inoculate the seeds, the roots of the oak trees. I'm hoping this isn't too bad with the audio here. I'm trying to get behind Pepe. So I'm going to use our tree shovel I was going to set up for this. So this is the tree shovel here. It's very long, very narrow, pretty good strong one. I've got a couple of these. You've seen me use these for cleaning out the tracks on the heavy equipment. So what we'll do is we'll dig down through the sand and into the muck. And since these are oak trees, these have a taproot. So unlike in some of the other potting situations, like when I'm transplanting, like many of our deciduous plants that have more widespread, like a maple tree, even our persimmons and pawpaws, even though they do have a taproot, they have much wider distribution of their roots, so that it fans out more like a bedspread, as opposed to going down as a pencil like a taprooted plant, like pines and your nut trees. So the pines and all of the nut trees, we typically want to go right straight down and not bend the taproot if at all possible. We're really fortunate down here. It's very sandy down deep, and therefore there's no big rocks. Well, there are some rocks, but they're not nearly as much as the rest of the property. So they should go down in there. Now we'll inoculate the roots with a mycorrhizal fungi, which forms a mutually beneficial symbiotic relationship with the roots, where they exchange. The fungi will mine minerals from the microorganisms, will feed minerals to the mycorrhizal fungi and water. It's like an extension of the root system, which will allow these trees to, if they take well, they'll go ahead and grow between 1 and 2 feet a year. And this will allow their root systems to start to expand more thoroughly in these areas. We'll be planting these trees closer than what most people would suggest, because we're in a high wind zone. When you're in a high wind zone, you do want to have your trees fairly close together so that they form kind of a network in the ground as well. We'll be putting other companion species around these swamp oak trees in the future as well, creating guilds to help support them. And of course, these swamp oak trees are going to benefit the wildlife, all the bird species, from woodpeckers to all of the seed-eating birds, to the small mammals that will eat the seeds. The insects will be available to feed on the flowers and the leaves, and that will bring in beneficial insectivores as well. So it's going to really enhance the whole environment. And then there are many benefits to having the wood as well. It's going to create habitats. So that's one of the things we're going to do today, is we're going to try and plant about 20 of these swamp white oak trees down in this area. And I'll set up a camera, so hopefully you'll be able to see some of it. It does seem like the wind has calmed down some. Once I get the trees in the ground, I'll be using some of our tree tubes. So these are tree tubes we've been using for years. We'll be using 5-foot lengths of 1/2-inch rebar to hold them in place. We'll be using reusable cable ties here to hold them to enclose the tree tubes, and these will also secure to the rebar to help hold them from damage. Certainly the deer, all the wildlife you've seen from some of the trail cams, there's just lots and lots of footprints here in the sand. So the wildlife would come down, and the deer would browse the tops of these and really stunt their growth and just keep eating the tops. So it's real important to, once we get them in the ground, we get them established with some mycorrhizal fungi, get them planted appropriately. And the thing I didn't do, now that I realize it, when the roots are more fanned out, like the blueberry plants, sometimes we actually want to put a mound of soil in the hole that we're digging, so that the roots can form that umbrella shape, that they can expand out around the perimeter. Whereas a taprooted species really wants to go down, and then they extend out almost perpendicular to the long axis going down vertically. They just go out laterally as well. There will be large lateral roots as well, especially as the wind forces them. Sometimes you'll see a long roots off to the side on the winds that come out of the northwest here, around here. So, but we're real fortunate this isn't a real rocky area. So enough of me chattering here. Let's get to this. Okay, winds have stayed calm so far, so here is the mycorrhizal fungal spores. And I just use a little scoop to help with scooping it out. You've seen in many videos, I use this all the time for so many of the plants that we plant that have a symbiotic, mutually beneficial relationship with the fungus has a mutually beneficial symbiotic relationship with the trees and the bushes and the plants, even our tomatoes and all. So these are Quercus bicolor, also known as swamp white oaks. And so they are inside of a plastic bag put together very, very nicely with some wet paper towels in them to help keep the roots nice and moist. Long paper towels here. And with the tap-rooted plants, we're going to want our hole to be as deep. I'm going to set the rest of the plants down here. Bag in my pocket. So this tree, the place where we don't want to go any deeper than is right here. We don't want any soil going above this level. And this is the taproot here, so we want this to be about the length of, so if we take this shovel, it's much deeper than a spade shovel, and we put this down in, this is how we want it to go. Hopefully this is showing up. And so your pine trees and your nut trees all have this taproot. The pawpaws and persimmons do as well, but mostly your pine trees and your nut trees are the ones we think about having these long taproots. So the further down that we're able to get this root into the soil, the better off. Now, there are systems where people will have a small little notch in the bottom. So after they dig their hole, they hook this on like this and then put the shovel back in the soil, and that actually works pretty well. I've done that before with a small tool that I made. But what we're going to do today is we're just going to make a nice deep hole here, and we're going to make sure that, and because of the soil is pretty darn nice, no big rocks like we have in other parts of the property here. And now, right over the hole and in contact with the roots here, and right down in the base of the hole, you just want to have these spores so they can come in close contact with the taproot. And I work it right down in there, and we just want to put the soil right back up. But we don't want to go above the crown where the root attaches to the main trunk of the tree. So that tree is planted super easy if the soil conditions are good here. And next I'm just going to go ahead and show you how I use these tree guards. So these are 5-foot tree guards, and what I'm going to do is use these reusable cable ties, which means I buy these on Amazon. I'll probably put mycorrhizal fungi. You can get any brand you want, but it has this small little tab on it that helps to release it. So once they're on, they stay on like this until you press that tab to release them. And I find these real handy for so many things that we use on the farm, planting and protecting different trees and all. So in this particular tree guard, the top has a flange on it. We want to put, there's little perforations in this. It's white. It helps to protect the tree from the harsh, when the snow's covered on the ground and the sun's beating against it. It helps to protect the tree. It helps to protect the tree from the wind-blown trauma that can happen, all the material that gets blown, branches and sticks. This does help. They do get knocked over at times, so I've got to straighten them out. But I don't snug them down at first. And so this is the top of the tree tube. This is the bottom of the tree tube. Now I'll just go ahead and feed this through cable ties that I put here. All right, so it's through each one of the cable ties. Now the winds from here, they can come out of the, so this direction over here behind me is west, east is this way. It actually circles around. Even though our winds come out of the northwest, we get strong winds that come across the beaver ponds up there. So if you've seen in the other videos, you've seen it can get real windy up there. So I'll bring this down pretty close to where I want it here. Set it in. And again, this soil is really nice here. Sometimes I end up putting 2 rebar for these ones. I'm actually going to dig out a little bit around the base of this one. I do not want to affect where the tree is itself. Yeah, the tree's right in the center. But one of the lower tabs did fold in a little bit, so I'm going to pull this tab back. Beautiful. So, I don't know if this will actually show. So I'll show you the tree inside of the tube. I don't know if that shows up, but you've got it a good 1.5 inches all the way around the perimeter of the tree. I don't know if that's showing very well. If you can get 3 of these on, but you really want to have the rebar in deep enough. And the reason that we have them 5-foot rebar is because I buy them in 20-foot lengths and cut them in quarters. And that works for our tomato cages and all our tree supports and all. So that's the first one. So I'm just going to go ahead and move along. Hopefully this is all making sense. Okay, it's about lunchtime. It's past lunchtime. Thea just checked in on me and all. But to orient you where we're actually located here, where we put the trees, we're just upstream here a little bit. So up there is the Upper Beaver Dam, the access road there. Here's the Lower Beaver Dam here. The road goes over to the other property over there. The beaver have been building up this section here. This is one of the spillways going across. This is the canal system that I harvested so much sand and sediment as well from. And here we are, 20 swamp oaks put in the ground. Pretty happy with how well. These are the tree tubes that we use, the cable ties, the rebar. These are 5-foot tree tubes. They have holes put in them. Helps with good ventilation. The white helps with not getting them not stimulating them, not creating a greenhouse effect with them at all. And I do put the sediment sand right around the base because there's so many critters here. The raccoon prints all over in here, fox, coyote, possums. So they all cruise in here. The raccoons will dig underneath this and climb all over it. So pretty happy with how everything went. Of the bare root seedlings, 2 of them had probably been damaged shortly after they had sprouted, and then ended up sending up 2 trunks. So I pruned off the smaller of the 2 trunks, if there was one that was smaller. They both had pretty decent roots, and then I had 2 that they had a good taproot, but not a lot of the lateral roots that come off of it. But we'll see how things go. This is really moist ground down here. There's really good soil beneath the sand that I put all down in here. So pretty happy with how things worked out. So I did want to create a more recent video because over the years I've shown so many planting and potting up videos, and recently I've been getting questions, geez, you didn't show how you actually planted, transplanted, or potted. So I wanted to show this. Oh, Jim had asked, how deep is the canal after taking out all the sand? It's probably about 3 feet deep. It'll work out to be about 2.5 feet deep. So I'll be putting some of the native lily pads in here as well. And maybe next year, the year after, I'll dig the pond that goes out around. So many dead trees in there. I'll take out the dead trees because it's too wet. There are a couple places, natural places for vernal pools to be over here, or woodland pools, places where the fish don't occupy during the summer months. It dries up, but it's great for all the salamanders. And I've made videos on vernal pools in the past. So that's it. I hope you folks found some value in this video. If you did, please give us a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and by all means, folks, take good care of yourselves and think about planting more trees for the future. This is future care right here, and earth care. Reforesting the areas, working with our riparian systems wherever there's canals and streams and all. We want to repopulate those with the appropriate species. And in the forest, we'll be planting some of the white oaks, as well as many other trees as well. Their persimmons, their pawpaws, and all those ones that I've talked about in the past. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day and take care. Bye-bye now.